The sky was painted with the fading colors of sunset. The last rays of orange light stretched across the horizon as darkness slowly covered the land. Near the edge of the old spaceport ruins, a young human named Aaron walked alone. He often came to this place after finishing his daily work. It was quiet here, away from the noise of the town. The broken towers and scattered metal plates reminded people of the past, when ships once landed and humans dreamed of reaching the stars. Most avoided the ruins, calling them empty and useless, but Aaron found peace in the silence. He carried a small lantern, its glow guiding his steps across the uneven ground. The air smelled faintly of rust and dust. As Aaron walked, he suddenly heard a soft sound. It was not the wind. It was like a small voice carried by the air. He stopped and listened. There it was again, a gentle call, almost like someone speaking but uncertain. Aaron turned his lantern in the direction of the sound. The light revealed a figure standing near a broken wall. At first, he thought it was a child from the town who had wandered too far. But when the figure stepped closer, Aaron's heart beat faster. It was not a child, and it was not human. The figure was slender, with skin that shimmered as if tiny stars were hidden beneath the surface. The face was gentle but different from any human face Aaron had seen. Her eyes were large and bright, reflecting the light of the lantern like pools of starlight. Her hair, if it could be called hair, flowed softly like strands of silver mist. She looked fragile and confused, as if the world around her was unfamiliar. Aaron stood still, unsure what to do. He had never seen an alien before, not even from a distance. People in the town spoke of them in stories, some with fear and some with wonder. No one expected to meet one in the ruins. Yet here she was, standing a few steps away, looking lost and uncertain. The alien girl tilted her head, her expression showing both curiosity and worry. She spoke a word, but her voice was soft and broken, almost like she was struggling to use human language. Aaron only understood one part of what she said. She was asking about a beacon. Aaron raised his lantern a little higher so she could see his face clearly. He tried to speak calmly, his voice steady. "You are lost," he said. "Do you need help?" The girl blinked, as if trying to understand. Then she nodded slowly. She repeated the word beacon again and pointed toward the deeper part of the ruins. Her hand trembled as if she feared he might turn away. Aaron thought for a moment. He had heard old stories about beacons left behind by travelers from other worlds. Some believed the ruins still held secrets, though no one had found anything useful in many years. Perhaps this beacon was real, and perhaps it was hers. The girl stepped closer, but not too close. She kept a small distance between them, as if unsure whether to trust him. Aaron noticed her breathing was fast. She was afraid but also hopeful. Her eyes never left him, as if waiting for his choice. Aaron's heart told him to help. He could see she was not dangerous. She looked more lost than anything else. Slowly, he nodded and pointed to the lantern. "I will guide you," he said. His words were simple, but she seemed to understand. Her shoulders relaxed a little, and her eyes softened. She made a small gesture, almost like a bow, a sign of gratitude. Then she stood beside him, still keeping a little space, waiting for him to lead. The night grew darker as they walked together. The lantern light shone across the broken stones and twisted beams of metal. The silence of the ruins was heavy, broken only by the sound of their steps. Aaron kept glancing at the girl. She moved with grace, but her eyes were constantly searching, scanning the shadows as if expecting something hidden. Aaron wondered what had brought her here. Was she separated from others like her? Did her people know she was lost? The questions filled his mind, but he did not speak them aloud. He did not want to frighten her. Instead, he focused on the path, guiding her carefully through the ruins. After some time, the girl tried to speak again. Her words were slow and broken, but Aaron could understand a little more. She told him her name was Lyra. She explained that she had followed a signal to this place, but when she arrived, the signal was gone. She had searched for the beacon but could not find it. Without it, she could not call her people to return for her. Aaron listened closely. The thought of being left behind in a strange world made him feel sympathy for her. He could imagine the fear she must have felt, walking alone in a place so different from her home. He gave her a small nod to show he understood. Lyra's eyes met his, and for the first time, she smiled, though only a little. It was a fragile smile, but it carried warmth. Aaron realized then that she was beginning to trust him, even if only a little. As they walked deeper into the ruins, the air grew cooler. The lantern light reflected against the broken metal walls, making strange shapes dance around them. Aaron noticed that Lyra sometimes touched the walls lightly with her hand, as if feeling for hidden signs. Her glowing skin made the ruins look alive for a moment. Aaron thought about the stories told in the town. People said aliens avoided humans because they believed humans were reckless and untrustworthy. Yet here was Lyra, choosing to walk beside him. He wondered what she thought of him now. The night was growing late, but Aaron did not feel tired. The sense of mystery and the quiet presence of the alien girl kept his mind awake. He felt as if he had stepped into a story larger than himself, one that began the moment he chose to follow the sound of her voice. At last, they reached a wide hall where the broken ceiling opened to the stars above. Lyra stopped there, her eyes lifting to the night sky. The stars reflected in her gaze, brighter than the lantern's glow. She whispered something in her own language, words Aaron could not understand, but he felt the meaning. She was calling to the stars, wishing for her people to hear her. Aaron stood beside her silently. For the first time, he realized the ruins were not just a forgotten place. They were part of something greater, something connected to worlds beyond his own. And here, in the stillness of the night, a human and an alien had crossed paths. The night had grown quiet around the ruins. The lantern in Aaron's hand gave off a steady glow, lighting the path in front of him. Beside him walked Lyra, the alien girl whose skin shimmered faintly like soft light on water. She stayed a small step behind him, careful yet curious, watching his every move as though she was learning from him. Aaron felt the weight of the moment. He had never thought his evening walk would bring him here, guiding someone from another world. His heart beat faster, but he kept his steps calm and steady. He wanted her to know she was safe with him. Lyra glanced around, her eyes wide as they moved deeper into the ruins. Every shadow seemed to hold a secret, and every broken wall carried a story she wished she could read. Her lips parted as she whispered the word beacon again. Her voice was quiet, almost unsure, but it carried hope. Aaron nodded and spoke in slow, simple words so she might understand. "We will search together. Do not be afraid." The alien girl tilted her head slightly, listening carefully. Though her knowledge of human language was limited, she seemed to understand his meaning. She gave a small nod and followed closely. The ground was uneven, with stones scattered across their path. Aaron lifted the lantern higher and pointed to a safe way forward. "Here. Step here," he said gently. Lyra hesitated at first, then placed her foot where he showed. When she did not stumble, her face lit up with relief. A tiny smile touched her lips, and Aaron realized she was beginning to trust him more. They walked past the remains of an old hangar. Metal beams stretched upward like the ribs of a giant skeleton. The wind moved through the hollow space, making a low, haunting sound. Lyra paused there, her silver-like hair moving gently with the breeze. She touched one of the beams and closed her eyes. For a moment, her skin glowed brighter, as if the ruins carried memories that spoke to her in ways Aaron could not understand. Aaron watched with quiet respect. He did not interrupt her. Instead, he kept the lantern steady, waiting for her to finish. After a while, Lyra opened her eyes again and looked at him. She spoke slowly, her words broken but clear enough. Old place. Long gone. Not human. Her words surprised Aaron. He had always thought the ruins were built by humans, remnants of an abandoned project. But if Lyra was right, then these halls and towers had belonged to someone else long before his people ever came here. Aaron wanted to ask more, but he knew it was not the time. Lyra looked tired, and her eyes kept moving to the dark corners, searching for the beacon. They continued walking, their steps echoing softly. Aaron decided to talk, not to ask questions but to make the silence feel less heavy. He spoke of small things. He told her how the stars above the ruins looked the same from his town, how children often tried to count them but always failed. He told her about the river that ran close to the fields, where the water was cool and clear. Lyra listened with great focus. Though she did not understand every word, she understood his tone. His voice was calm, steady, and without fear. It made her shoulders relax little by little. After a while, she spoke again, this time more carefully. Humans, people, not safe, not always kind. Her words carried hesitation, as if she did not want to offend him but still wished to share her truth. Aaron slowed his steps and thought about her words. He looked at her with honesty. Yes, he said softly. Not all are kind. Some choose harm. But not all humans are the same. Lyra studied him as though measuring his heart. She seemed to see that his words were true, and her gaze softened. She gave a small nod, as if accepting that while danger might exist, trust could still be found. They reached a wide open yard, where weeds had grown between cracked stone floors. Broken machines lay scattered, their shapes rusted and strange. In the middle stood a tall pillar that looked different from the rest. It was covered in faint carvings, the lines glowing so weakly they almost disappeared in the dark. Lyra gasped when she saw it. Her hand rose to her chest, and her eyes widened. She stepped closer, her steps quickening for the first time since Aaron had met her. She reached the pillar and placed her hand on the carvings. The glow brightened slightly under her touch. Beacon, she whispered. Her voice trembled with both joy and worry. Aaron raised his lantern higher and studied the pillar. To him, it looked like a strange stone with markings he could not read. But he could tell it meant much more to Lyra. The way she held it, the way her eyes shone, made him understand this was no ordinary object. But then her expression changed. The glow flickered weakly, as if the beacon was broken. Lyra shook her head slowly. Not strong. Not working. Her voice was filled with worry. Aaron stepped closer and looked at the panel near the bottom of the pillar. He noticed that behind the carvings, small shapes of metal and glass were hidden, though damaged. It reminded him of old machines he had seen, ones that needed fixing to work again. He knelt down and touched the surface carefully. The glass felt cool, and there were wires, though many were cut or burned. Aaron looked up at Lyra. Maybe it can be fixed, he said. Lyra tilted her head, surprised that he would even try. She stepped back to give him space, watching closely. Aaron used what little skill he had. His father once worked with tools in the town, and Aaron had learned a few things. He adjusted loose pieces, cleaned dust from the glass, and moved wires carefully. Lyra leaned closer, her glowing eyes never leaving his hands. Minutes passed, and then something happened. The beacon gave a faint hum. The carvings glowed brighter than before, casting gentle light across the yard. The air vibrated slightly, as though the pillar had awakened after a long sleep. Lyra's eyes filled with light. She stepped forward and pressed both hands against the beacon. This time, the glow responded to her touch, pulsing like a heartbeat. She turned to Aaron, her face filled with gratitude. You help, she said softly. You fix. You guide. Aaron smiled faintly. "We did it together," he replied. The beacon continued to glow, stronger now, sending its silent signal into the sky. Lyra looked upward, hope shining in her expression. She whispered in her own language, words Aaron could not understand, but the meaning was clear. She was calling for her people. For the first time that night, the fear in her eyes faded. In its place was trust, and something even more powerful, the belief that humans could be more than she had been told. Aaron stood beside her, holding the lantern, his heart steady. He did not know what the beacon would bring, but he knew one thing with certainty. Their journey together was only beginning. The beacon's glow continued to pulse gently, filling the wide yard with soft light. Aaron stood beside Lyra, the alien girl, as she placed her hands against the carved pillar. Her silver-like hair shimmered as the glow reflected on her face. She looked both relieved and thoughtful, as though the beacon's faint signal had given her hope but not yet full safety. Aaron held the lantern close and studied her quietly. He knew she was not safe yet. The beacon was weak, and the ruins stretched far and wide. If her people were going to find her, she would need time. Until then, he would stay by her side. Lyra slowly lowered her hands and turned to face him. Her eyes glimmered with soft light as she spoke. Her voice was careful, the words broken but clear enough. "You, guide me. More safe with you." Aaron nodded. "I will guide you," he answered simply. He understood she trusted him now, even if only a little. The night air grew colder. A thin wind moved through the broken halls, carrying with it the smell of dust and old stone. Aaron raised the lantern higher. "We should move," he said. "This place is open. We will find a safer path." Lyra tilted her head, as though thinking, then nodded. She stayed close behind him as they began to walk once again. The ruins stretched like a maze, full of sharp corners and shadows. Aaron had explored small parts of them before, but he had never gone this deep. Now, with Lyra following, he felt more careful with every step. He knew the land better than she did, and so he chose the safest ways, guiding her past broken metal beams and unstable walls. As they walked, Aaron began to speak again. He remembered how her eyes softened when he told her small stories earlier. "So," he continued. "Once," Aaron said, "when I was young, I climbed the hills near the river. I wanted to see the stars from the highest point. I thought maybe if I climbed high enough, I could reach them." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. She whispered, "Stars, reach." She looked up at the night sky through the cracks in the ruins, her gaze filled with wonder. Aaron smiled faintly. "Of course, I could not reach them. But the stars made me feel small and strong at the same time. They reminded me there is always more beyond what we see." Lyra slowed her steps, thoughtful. She touched one of the stone walls with her hand, as if feeling the story through the surface. "Humans dream," she said softly. Aaron looked at her curiously. "Do your people not dream?" She paused, searching for words. "We plan. We measure. We prepare. Dream, less. Humans dream more." Aaron thought about her words. He had never considered dreaming as something unique, but hearing it from her made it feel special. Perhaps humans carried a spirit that others noticed even if they did not. They reached a narrow passage. The floor was broken, with gaps that could trip them if they were careless. Aaron held the lantern low and pointed. "Careful here. Step only on the stone blocks." Lyra followed his guidance closely. Her movements were light, almost graceful, but she trusted his directions, placing her feet where he showed. When she crossed safely, she looked at him with quiet gratitude. They entered a chamber where the roof had caved in long ago. Moonlight poured through the opening, mixing with the lantern's glow. The chamber walls were lined with strange markings, not like human writing but flowing shapes that curved like rivers. Lyra stopped suddenly. Her glowing eyes moved across the markings as if reading them. Erin waited patiently, letting her take her time. Finally, she whispered, "This place, old path. Beacon near." Erin stepped closer to look at the markings, though to him they were only strange lines. "You can read this?" he asked. She nodded slightly. "Some words." "Not all." "Old language. My people use part of it." Erin's respect for her grew. To him, the ruins were nothing but broken stones and forgotten machines. To her, they were alive with meaning. They moved onward, guided by both his lantern and her knowledge of the ruins. Together, they became a team. Erin guided her safely across dangerous ground, while Lyra guided him through the secrets of the place. At one point, they reached a long hallway where the ground sloped downward into darkness. Erin hesitated, but Lyra raised her hand and pointed forward. "Beacon, more that way." Erin nodded. "Then we go." The hallway was silent except for the sound of their footsteps. Erin's lantern made shadows dance on the walls. Lyra's presence gave him courage. Though he led the way, he felt that she also guided him, showing him that these ruins were not empty but filled with stories from long ago. As they walked, Lyra began to speak again, her words slow but filled with meaning. "My people, say humans wild. Hard to trust. But you, show different." Erin looked at her. "And what do you think now?" Lyra met his eyes, her expression soft. "I think, human heart, can guide." Her words stayed with Erin. He had never thought of his heart as something that could guide anyone, yet here she was, trusting him because of it. The air grew colder as they reached another wide chamber. Strange machines lay broken across the floor, their designs unlike anything Erin had seen before. Lyra knelt beside one of them, her hand brushing across its surface. The machine responded faintly with a weak glow. She looked up at Erin. "Part of beacon system. Needs light. Needs power." Erin bent down to see. The machine had wires and panels like the beacon earlier. He touched it carefully, cleaning the dust. With a bit of effort, he found a way to connect a broken wire back into place. When he did, the glow inside the machine grew stronger. Lyra's eyes shone brightly. "You guide, you fix. Human hands strong." Erin smiled. "And you guide me with your knowledge. We both help." The chamber lit up softly, the machine now sending its glow toward another passage. It was as if the ruins themselves were opening a path for them. Together, they followed the light. The ruins no longer felt empty or silent. With each step, Erin felt they were moving towards something greater. Lyra walked close, no longer keeping her distance. She trusted his guidance, and he trusted hers. In that moment, Erin realized something. This journey was not only about helping her find the beacon. It was also about showing her what humans could be, and discovering what her people had left behind. The ruins were not a maze anymore. They had become a path of trust between two different worlds. The ruins were silent except for the sound of their footsteps. Erin's lantern glowed steadily, throwing warm light on the walls, while the machines they had touched earlier gave off a faint pulse. Each step forward carried both of them deeper into the unknown, but the fear that had once shadowed Lyra's face began to fade. She walked closer to Erin now, no longer keeping a wide space between them. Her silver-like hair shifted gently with every step, and her glowing eyes watched him carefully. She was learning his movements, his tone, and his nature. Erin noticed the change. When he first saw her, she had looked afraid and uncertain. Now, she followed him with trust in her gaze. That trust filled him with a quiet strength, making him want to be even more careful. He wanted to prove he deserved it. They reached a narrow passage where sharp stones jutted out from the ground. The air was cold, and the lantern's flame flickered as a thin draft moved through the cracks. Erin turned to Lyra. "Stay close." The ground here is dangerous. She nodded and stepped behind him. Aaron moved slowly, pointing to safe places where she could step. When she stumbled slightly on a loose stone, he reached out his hand without thinking. She hesitated for only a moment before placing her slender hand in his. Her skin felt cool but soft, and the faint shimmer on her palm glowed brighter at his touch. For a brief second, their eyes met. Neither spoke, but both understood. The simple act of holding his hand across the broken ground was more than guidance, it was trust. When they crossed safely, she gently released his hand, yet the warmth of that moment remained between them. They entered a wide chamber where moonlight poured through a broken roof. The night sky stretched above them, filled with stars. Lyra paused there, her gaze lifting upward. The stars reflected in her eyes, making them shine even more. She whispered in her own language, words Aaron could not understand, but her tone was gentle and full of longing. Aaron stood beside her, listening quietly. He could guess what she was saying. She was calling out in her heart for her people, wondering if they could hear her. After a moment, she turned to him and spoke in broken human words. Stars, same for you. Same for me. Aaron nodded. Yes. The same sky for both of us. Lyra's lips curved into a small smile. It was the first true smile he had seen on her face. That smile carried both relief and discovery. She realized then that though their worlds were different, the stars above connected them. They sat down for a short rest. Aaron placed the lantern beside him, its glow soft and steady. He pulled out a small piece of bread he had carried in his bag and offered it to Lyra. She tilted her head curiously at first but then accepted it with careful hands. She studied it as though it were something strange, then took a small bite. Her eyes widened at the taste, and a soft laugh escaped her lips. Aaron chuckled quietly. It is simple, but it fills the stomach. She nodded, taking another bite. Simple, good, she said. For a while, they shared quiet moments, eating and resting under the stars. Aaron told her small stories about his town, about the market where people sold fruits and tools, about the children who played near the river, and about the old man who carved wooden figures of animals. Lyra listened closely. Though she did not understand every word, she understood his tone and the warmth in his voice. She leaned slightly closer as he spoke, her eyes calm and soft. When Aaron finished, she tried to share her own story. Her words were broken, but her meaning was clear enough. She told him that her people traveled across the stars in great ships. They moved from place to place, always careful, always planning. They avoided humans because they believed humans were reckless, acting without thought. Aaron listened without offense. He understood her honesty. That may be true for some, he said quietly. But not all humans are the same. Lyra looked at him for a long time, her glowing eyes thoughtful. Finally, she said, "You, not reckless. You guide. You care." Her words touched him more deeply than he expected. He felt a sense of pride but also responsibility. She trusted him now, and he wanted to show her that her trust was not misplaced. They stood again and continued walking. The ruins grew darker as they moved into deeper halls where moonlight could not reach. Aaron kept the lantern high, its glow chasing away the shadows. Lyra stayed close beside him, no longer stepping behind but walking with him as an equal. At one point, a sudden noise echoed from the far corner of the hall. Loose stones fell from above, clattering loudly. Lyra gasped and stepped back, her eyes wide with fear. Aaron quickly raised his lantern and moved in front of her. He scanned the shadows carefully. Nothing came out. It was only the ruins settling, but the sound had frightened her. Aaron lowered the lantern slowly and looked back at her. "It is only stones," he said gently. "You are safe." Lyra's breath steadied, and she gave a small nod. She looked at him with gratitude, as if his calm presence had pushed the fear away. Their path led them to another chamber where strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. Lyra stepped closer, tracing them with her fingers. She whispered, "Old words. Beacon near. Almost there." Aaron watched her, feeling her excitement. He realized that each step forward was not only guiding her to the beacon but also guiding her closer to him. The fear she had carried at the start was slowly being replaced by trust and hope. As they walked out of the chamber, Lyra spoke again, her voice soft but firm. "I trust you." Aaron looked at her, surprised by the directness of her words. For a moment, he could not speak. Then he nodded slowly and said, "And I will not fail you." The lantern's glow stretched ahead, lighting their way through the endless halls of the ruins. Side by side, a human and an alien girl continued their journey not just in search of a beacon, but in search of something greater. The trust between them had begun to grow strong, and that trust would guide them through the darkness that lay ahead. The ruins grew quieter as Aaron and Lyra walked deeper into the ancient halls. The air was heavy and cool, filled with the scent of dust that had rested there for centuries. Aaron's lantern gave off a steady glow, but even its light seemed small in the vast emptiness around them. Lyra walked close beside him, her silver-like hair catching the lantern light, her glowing eyes fixed on the shadows ahead. Though she no longer looked frightened, there was still a sense of urgency in her steps. She knew the beacon was near, and Aaron could feel her hope growing with every step. The hall opened into a wide chamber. The ceiling had collapsed in some places, allowing beams of moonlight to spill through the cracks. Strange vines had grown along the broken stones, their leaves pale and thin, unlike any Aaron had seen before. In the center of the chamber stood a tall pillar, unlike the others they had passed. It was made of dark stone and metal, its surface carved with flowing patterns that seemed alive. The faintest glow traced the lines, pulsing softly, as if the pillar held a weak heartbeat. Lyra gasped and hurried forward. "Beacon," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. She placed both hands on the surface. The glow brightened slightly under her touch, but only for a moment before dimming again. Aaron joined her and studied the pillar closely. He could see cracks running along its base, and panels of glass and metal hidden beneath the carvings. Dust filled the small openings, and several wires hung loose, broken by time. "It is damaged," Aaron said softly. "But maybe not lost." Lyra looked at him with hope. Her words were careful but clear. "Can you fix again? Like before?" Aaron nodded slowly. He did not know if he could, but he was willing to try. He placed the lantern on the ground beside him and knelt at the base of the pillar. With his hands, he brushed away layers of dust and dirt, revealing more of the hidden panel. Lyra knelt beside him, her glowing eyes watching every movement. She touched the carvings gently, as though her presence gave the pillar strength. Aaron examined the wires. Some were cut, others bent out of place. He remembered how his father once worked with broken machines in their town, teaching him how even the smallest connection could bring life back to a silent tool. He used those memories now, guiding his hands with care. He connected one wire to another, twisted them firmly, and pressed a loose panel back into place. Sparks flickered faintly, and the pillar gave a low hum. Lyra's eyes widened. "It lives," she whispered. Aaron continued, moving carefully, adjusting broken parts with his steady hands. Minutes passed, and slowly the pillar began to glow brighter. The carvings pulsed with soft light, filling the chamber with a gentle shine. Lyra placed her hand flat on the surface, and the pillar responded. The glow spread upward, climbing toward the top until the whole structure was lit with a steady, calm radiance. Then, a beam of light shot upward from the pillar, piercing the broken ceiling and reaching into the night sky. The light was clear and strong, like a call sent across the stars. Lyra stepped back, her face filled with awe. Her lips moved as she whispered words in her own language, her voice soft and full of feeling. Aaron could not understand, but he could sense the weight of her emotions. She was calling to her people, letting them know where she was. Aaron stood quietly, his lantern forgotten. The pillar's glow made his lantern unnecessary now. He looked at Lyra, seeing the hope in her eyes, the relief in her posture. For the first time since he had met her, she no longer looked lost. But her joy was mixed with worry. She turned to him and spoke slowly. "Beacon strong now. Signal, travels far. But time, needed. They must come." Aaron understood. The beacon had been restored, but her people were not here yet. They would need time to follow the signal across the stars. Until then, Lyra remained in the ruins, and he would remain by her side. He glanced back at the pillar, studying its strange carvings. "Who built this?" he asked quietly. Lyra's expression grew serious. She touched the surface of the pillar and spoke. "Old ones. Before my people. Before humans. Very long ago." Aaron felt a chill run through him. The ruins were not human, and they were not hers either. They belonged to someone even older, someone who had left behind their machines and their symbols for others to find. "Do your people know who they were?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "No. We learn little. We follow signs. But truth, still hidden." Aaron looked at her, then back at the pillar. A sense of mystery filled him. The ruins were not just broken stones. They were a message from the past, one that both humans and aliens had yet to fully understand. The beam of light continued to shine upward, steady and strong. Lyra stepped closer to him and said softly, "Without you, beacon still dark. You guide me here. You fix. You give hope." Aaron felt her words deeply. He had only wanted to help, but in doing so, he had given her a chance to return home. They sat near the pillar, waiting. The glow filled the chamber, pushing back the shadows. Aaron leaned against a stone wall, resting from the effort of his work. Lyra sat across from him, her eyes never leaving the shining beam. After some time, she spoke again, her voice thoughtful. "Why you help? You not know me. Not know my people. Still you guide." Aaron looked at her with a calm expression. "Because you were lost. Because you needed help. That is enough." Lyra studied him for a long moment. Her gaze softened, and she gave a small nod. "Human heart, different. Strong." Her words carried weight, and Aaron knew she truly believed them. Trust had grown between them, but now respect was forming too. The night stretched on, the beacon shining like a star of its own. Aaron wondered how far its light reached, and how long it would take for her people to arrive. He also wondered what it meant that such a machine, older than both their worlds, still worked when touched by human hands. Perhaps the key to the ruins was not only in the language of the old builders, but also in the courage to act, to try, to dream. As Lyra rested near the glowing pillar and Aaron watched over her, a thought grew in his mind. The discovery of the beacon was more than just her rescue. It was the beginning of something greater, something that connected humans and her people to a much older story written in the stars. The night stretched long, and the ruins were silent except for the low hum of the beacon. Its steady beam of light reached into the sky, glowing like a column of hope. Aaron and Lyra sat near the pillar, waiting. The faint warmth of the beacon made the cold air bearable, and for a while, they rested in the strange comfort of its light. Lyra's glowing eyes followed the upward beam, her expression filled with thought. She seemed calmer now, but there was a hint of sadness in her silence. Aaron watched her quietly. He knew she was thinking about her people, wondering if they had seen the signal, wondering when they would arrive. Finally, she turned to him. "They come. But not soon. Signal must travel. Time is long." Aaron nodded. "Then you are not alone until they do." I will stay. Her face softened. She whispered, almost to herself, human heart strong. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The light of the beacon painted their faces, and the ruins around them felt alive. Aaron thought about the mystery of the place. These halls were not built by humans, not even by Lyra's people, but by someone older, someone unknown. Yet it was his hands that had helped restore the beacon. The thought stayed with him. Lyra reached into a small pouch at her side. Her movements were slow, as though she was thinking carefully about what she was about to do. She pulled out a small object that shimmered in the beacon's glow. It was a thin keycard, no larger than Aaron's hand. Its surface was metallic, but it shifted with light, showing patterns that flowed like water. Tiny symbols glowed faintly on its surface, symbols unlike anything Aaron had ever seen. She held it out to him. "For you," she said. Aaron blinked, surprised. "For me? Why?" Lyra looked at him with steady eyes. "You guide me. You fix beacon. You give hope. This, reward." Aaron hesitated, unsure if he should take it. "But this belongs to you. It may be important." She shook her head. "It belongs to you now. My people carry many. This one is special. Not only key. It is memory. It is path." Aaron slowly reached out and accepted the key card. The surface felt cool, almost alive, as if the patterns shifted under his touch. Light flickered across its edges, responding to his hand. "What does it open?" he asked softly. Lyra looked toward the glowing pillar. "It opens what waits. Not here. Not now. But one day. Old ones leave doors. Keys open them. Humans not have key. Now you have." Aaron stared at the shimmering card. He felt its weight, though it was light as air. It was not just metal and glass. It was a symbol. It was trust placed in him, a human. "Why give this to me?" he asked again, his voice quieter this time. Lyra's gaze was steady, her tone firm. "Because you showed way. You did not ask for reward, but you gave more than you knew. My people may not trust humans. But I do. This key says humans can carry light too." Aaron lowered his eyes to the card, then back to her. "I will keep it safe." Lyra nodded. Her expression softened into a faint smile, the second one he had seen since meeting her. For a while, they sat in silence again, the beam of the beacon humming softly. Aaron turned the keycard over in his hands, watching the patterns flow like water. He wondered what kind of doors it could open, and what kind of secrets it held. He wondered why she had chosen him for such a gift. At last, Aaron spoke. "This key is not just a reward, is it? It means something more." Lyra lowered her gaze. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "It means I see you. Not only human. Not only guide. More." Aaron felt her words deeply, though he did not fully understand them yet. He looked at the key again, realizing it was more than just a gift. It was a sign of trust, a sign of respect, and perhaps a bridge between their worlds. The ruins around them felt different now. What had once been broken stone and silence was now alive with meaning. The beacon shone above them, the keycard glowed in his hand, and the bond between human and alien had grown into something strong and rare. Hours passed, though neither of them noticed the time. They spoke softly about their worlds. Aaron told her about the forests near his home, where tall trees reached to the sky. He told her about the village, about laughter in the markets, and about the songs sung during festivals. Lyra listened with wonder, her glowing eyes wide. She tried to share pieces of her world too. She spoke of ships that traveled between stars, of crystal towers that shone brighter than suns, of skies filled with colors Aaron could not imagine. Though their languages were not the same, their hearts understood. Their words carried weight, not because of perfect grammar but because of honesty. Finally, Aaron tucked the keycard safely into his pocket. The thought of losing it made him uneasy. It was too important now. Not because of what it might unlock, but because of what it represented. When he looked at Lyra again, she was watching him quietly. "Keep safe," she said softly. "One day, it will show you way." Aaron nodded. "I promise." The ruins grew colder as the night deepened, but neither felt afraid. They had the beacon's light, and they had each other's trust. The silence was no longer heavy. It was peaceful. Aaron leaned back against the stone wall, his eyes drifting toward the sky. The stars shone above, countless and endless. He thought of the beacon's signal racing through that sky, traveling far to reach Lyra's people. Somewhere out there, ships would turn toward this small world because of the light he and Lyra had restored. Beside him, Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, resting. Her breathing was calm, and her face carried peace. Aaron glanced at her and thought about how strange and wonderful the night had become. Only hours ago, he had been walking alone through forgotten ruins. Now, he sat beside someone from another world, holding a key that could open doors humans had never seen. He knew the journey was not over. The keycard was only the beginning. It promised questions, challenges, and discoveries far greater than the ruins around him. But for now, it was enough to sit in the glow of the beacon, guarding the strange gift he had been given, and waiting with Lyra for the arrival of her people. The reward was not just the keycard. The true reward was the bond that had formed between them, a bond that might one day change the path of both their worlds. The first light of morning touched the ruins. Sunlight spilled through the broken ceiling, mixing with the glow of the beacon. Aaron opened his eyes slowly, his body stiff from resting against the cold stone. Beside him, Lyra was already awake, her glowing eyes fixed on the sky above. The beam of the beacon still stretched upward, steady and bright. Aaron followed her gaze and noticed something different in the sky. A faint light moved against the stars, brighter than any star he had seen. It grew larger with each passing moment. Lyra's voice trembled with both joy and relief. "They come." Aaron rose to his feet, his heart beating faster. The light in the sky expanded until it became clear. It was not a star but a ship, long and sleek, shining like polished crystal. Its surface reflected the morning sun, casting colors across the sky. The ship moved with grace, descending slowly toward the ruins. Dust swirled as the vessel approached. It hovered above the broken walls, its underside glowing with pale blue energy. A ramp extended from its side, lowering toward the ground. Figures appeared at the top, their shapes slender and tall, their movements calm but swift. Lyra stepped forward, her face filled with emotion. She raised her hand high, her voice ringing with strength. "Here." The figures walked down the ramp, their glowing eyes shining like hers. They wore silver-like clothing that shimmered in the light. When they reached the ground, they paused, studying the ruins and the beacon. Then their gazes fell on Lyra. One of them, taller than the others, stepped closer. His voice carried a deep and steady tone. "Lyra." She bowed her head slightly, speaking in her language. The words flowed like music, and though Aaron could not understand them, he knew they carried relief, respect, and welcome. The tall figure touched her shoulder gently, as if assuring her that she was safe. But soon, the other glowing eyes turned toward Aaron. Their gazes were sharp and questioning. He felt the weight of their stares. To them, he was only a human who had wandered into places not meant for him. Lyra quickly stepped between Aaron and her people. She raised her voice, speaking with firm conviction. The words came fast, and Aaron could sense her urgency. She pointed at the beacon, then at him. Her hand pressed against her heart as she continued. The tall figure listened without interruption. When she finished, silence filled the chamber. The group exchanged quiet glances. Their eyes, once sharp, softened slightly. Finally, the tall figure stepped forward and spoke in slow, careful words that Aaron could understand. "You, help." Aaron gave a small nod. "Yes." She was lost. "I showed her the way." The tall figure studied him for a long moment, then gave a short nod in return. Though the gesture was small, Aaron felt the weight of its meaning. It was recognition, perhaps even respect. Lyra turned to Aaron, her face brighter than the morning Sunday they know. "They see. You safe." Aaron exhaled, relief washing over him. He had not known what to expect, but her protection and her words had bridged the distance between them. The tall figure spoke again, this time to Lyra in their own language. She replied with calm confidence. Then she turned to Aaron once more. Her eyes were soft, yet there was sadness in them. "I must go," she said. Aaron felt the truth in her words, though his chest tightened at the thought. He had grown used to her presence, her glowing eyes, and her quiet strength. To see her leave would leave an empty place beside him. He nodded slowly. "I understand." She hesitated, then stepped closer. Her hand reached out, touching his arm lightly. "But remember, you carry key now. You carry trust. Keep it safe." Aaron touched the pocket where the strange keycard rested. "I will never lose it." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "One day, you will need it. It will show path. Not just for me. For you. For humans." He wanted to ask more, but the sound of her people calling drew her back. The tall figure was waiting near the ramp of the ship, the others already boarding. Lyra's eyes lingered on Aaron. "When stars call, follow. The key will answer." She turned and walked toward the ship. Aaron watched every step, unwilling to look away. She paused once at the base of the ramp, looking back at him one last time. Her gaze held gratitude, trust, and something unspoken. Then she climbed the ramp and disappeared into the shining vessel. The ship's ramp closed with a soft hiss. Its engines glowed brighter, lifting it slowly into the air. Dust and wind swirled through the ruins as the ship rose higher and higher. Aaron shielded his eyes from the light. The ship climbed into the sky, its glow fading until it became nothing more than a bright star among many. Then even that was gone. Silence returned to the ruins. The beacon's hum continued, steady and calm, but the presence of Lyra and her people was now only a memory. Aaron stood alone, his lantern still resting by the pillar, his hand pressing against the pocket where the key card lay. He pulled it out and studied its shimmering surface once more. The patterns flowed like water, glowing faintly in the morning light. He thought about Lyra's words. The key was not just a reward. It was a path, a promise, and perhaps a challenge. One day, it would reveal something greater. One day, it would connect his world to theirs, and maybe even to the builders of the ruins. Aaron placed the keycard safely back in his pocket. His heart was heavy with her absence, but filled with something else too: hope. The ruins were no longer just broken stones. To him, they were alive with meaning. He had walked into them as a wanderer, and he left them as a keeper of a secret. He picked up his lantern and began the walk back to the forest path. The morning sun painted the trees with gold, and the air felt new. Aaron knew his life would not be the same. He carried more than just a strange keycard. He carried the memory of an alien girl who had trusted him, the light of a beacon that had once been silent, and the promise of a future written among the stars.